Thank you for the great introduction. Hello, everyone. My topic today is going to be how we can migrate our existing web applications to mobile by using NativeScript. I'm a developer advocate at Progress on the NativeScript team, also GDE for Angular, and the best way to find me on the internet is in Twitter or everywhere else with my full name, which is kind of complex, but you'll figure it out. So what is NativeScript, this thing that I work on? It is a framework for building native mobile applications for Android and iOS by using some technologies that are usually used while doing web development, such as JavaScript or Angular. How many of you are familiar with NativeScript? Nice, this is a good ratio, pretty cool. So I'm going to see and take a look at the NativeScript architecture so that we can all get familiar with the framework. On the bottom, of course, we have the underlying operating systems, Android and iOS. Then we have a layer called the NativeScript runtimes. We have a separate runtimes for Android and for iOS, and then allow us to access any underlying Android and iOS API. For example, we can write JavaScript or TypeScript or whatever, and access the underlying API for creating a new button in Android. Or we can do the same thing and create a new button for iOS. And whenever we build the application for Android or iOS, it is going to just create a native widget. I'm not going to get into much detail how this is different from the other available cross-platform frameworks, but we can talk about it later if you're interested. So as you can see, the underlying APIs are quite different. So there is nothing cross-platform yet. That's why on the next level, we have the NativeScript core modules, which are a JavaScript plugin, which allows you to write a single line of code and create a widget on Android or iOS. This is how you can create a new button. Whenever you build the application, the NativeScript build process knows that you're building for one of the two platforms, and it is going to bundle the necessary code for each of them, for Android or for iOS. Actually, the usual way to create user interface in NativeScript is by using XML. And don't get confused by the HTML extension. This is the extension that we use when we are building NativeScript Angular apps, because it is kind of similar and familiar for the web developers that come from the Angular world. So as you can see, this is a simple XML tag with a simple attribute. And it's important to note that because you're building native widgets and native user interface, you're not using HTML, and you're not modifying the DOM or anything like that. You're using pure native elements. This is why the UI layer in NativeScript is quite different from the UI layer that you may have in a web application. On top of that, you can choose from some of the most popular application frameworks for front-end, Angular and Vue. We also have a community support for React and Svelte now. And there is also a NativeScript built-in framework, which is very lightweight, and you can use pure JavaScript or TypeScript by using this framework. For today's purposes, naturally, we're going to use Angular. And this is nice, because I like Angular. I hope you like Angular, too. So with Angular, we can write code such as the following. We have the same button. We can bind to the text property and display some text there. And we can also bind to the tap event. It is tap, not a click, because you usually tap on the mobile screen, not click on it. So we can bind on the tap event and attach some handler. It is pretty similar to the code that we may write in our web applications. And from Angular, we can use almost all of the available features. So we can clearly use ng modules, components, templates, data binding, dependency injection, and services. We do have NativeScript-specific ng modules for the router, the HTTP client, the forms, the animations, and also for the internationalization. So it is the same API, which is a little bit extended so that it provides you with special native, for example, transitions for the router. And for the tooling, you can use the NativeScript, the Angular CLI, to generate components and tangent modules and all the other available schematics that are in the Angular CLI. For building, although, you're going to use the NativeScript CLI. So let's see, I have a game for you, and I also brought some socks, NativeScript socks, and winter is coming, so you better be serious about it. So the game is very simple. You're going to see a GIF from a movie on the screen. And if you know the title, the name of the movie, you got to raise your hand. And I can pick someone. And if you guess the correct movie, you win a pair of socks. OK. Who's first? You're first. Yeah. Guardians of, let's see. Yay, you guessed it right. And oh, thank you for stealing. Cute. Yeah? The Godfather. Let's see. Yep. No, I want to throw socks. Please. Almost got it. Thank you. OK, next. Doesn't work. OK, you over there with the, yeah, you. Yeah. OK, whoever catches, yes. This is going to be difficult. You'll get it. Come on, be supportive, give him the socks. OK. He got it. OK, so for everyone watching the video, he got it. OK, one of my favorites. Yeah? Yeah. This one is tricky, yeah. Nice. OK, first successful throw. Thank you for catching that. This one, I want the name of the episode. Yeah? OK, you're still gonna win socks because you know the name of the series. Thank you. OK, the name of the episode. Someone? Yeah? There. Bandersnatch. Good. So please come and get them because, yeah. Thanks. OK, these were all the movies. So why were we doing that? So that I can practice my drawing skills. And because the end goal of this presentation is to convert the website that we saw, which happens to be also an Angular application, to a mobile application with NativeScript. And it is a very, very simple website, but you'll get the idea how you can start converting web apps with NativeScript. So how does a web and mobile project look like? And how can we share code? The first strategy is to have a libraries folder with all the shared code, or many libraries with the shared resources between web and mobile, and an applications folder with different applications for web and for mobile, which use the libraries. And a very good tool for this purpose is XSplat, which is built by a company called NStudio. XSplat is actually built on top of NX, which is built by Narwhal, which are here today. So you can visit their booth. I think, do you have a booth here? OK, so Jeff over there, you can visit, find him. He's got a shirt, OK. I also heard they're hiring, so just saying. So the cool thing about XSplat is that it doesn't also only support NativeScript and web, Angular, but it also supports Ionic and Electron, so you can have very different projects and applications inside the single project. The other way to structure your application that we're going to use today for our very, very simple example is by using some extension convention. And in this case, I'm going to use .tns for the NativeScript or for the mobile files. And for example, let's see if we have this component right here, and we're importing a movie service. Whenever we build the application for web with ngbuild or ngserve, this is going to pick up the movie service. And whenever we build for NativeScript, it is going to pick up the .tns file. This is very easily performed by configuring our TypeScript project to resolve at src to pick up either TS or TNS files. The same thing for HTML template URLs or for style URLs. When we build for web, the web build is going to prefer the file without the special extension. And whenever we build for NativeScript, the NativeScript build is going to prefer the .tns file. And the easiest way to manage projects that have the following structure is by using the NativeScript schematics, which are built on top of the Angular schematics, so that you can generate ng modules or components or services, and they're going to have both extensions, unless you specify that you want a web-only component. And the NativeScript schematics are a package that is a joint effort by the NativeScript and the Angular teams. Cool. Before getting any further and before actually starting to migrate our project, let's discuss what can be shared. If you have a service that is platform independent, which means it doesn't have to do anything with the browser or with the DOM or with the mobile APIs, it can be shared very naturally. For example, libraries such as NGRX or RxJS, they don't have anything platform specific, so you can reuse your existing code there. If you have a routing configuration, as I mentioned, the NativeScript router just extends the APIs of the Angular router, so you can reuse your configurations. Although you should be careful because it may not be the brightest idea to have a mobile application that looks exactly the same as a web application. You may have different navigation strategy, which uses tabs or a side drawer or something like that in your mobile app. You can also reuse your component classes, again, provided that they're not using anything platform-specific inside of them. What can't be shared? I already mentioned that you can use platform-agnostic services and ng modules, but if there is a library that uses something from the DOM or does some DOM manipulations, such as Angular material, you cannot use it inside of your NativeScript project. And again, I mentioned that the markup for NativeScript is quite different from the markup that you're going to write for your web applications. So most likely, you're going to have to convert the user interface. Let's play another game. I have 3 more pairs of socks and maybe 4 questions, so sorry about the last one. Cool. The game is called Can We Share This Module Across Our Web and Mobile Project? Yes. Yeah, that was simple, so no one wins. OK. For the next question, someone can raise their hand, maybe. So can we share that? Yes or no? Take your time. Yeah, you are first. So let's see. I'm sorry. So what is your opinion? Why can't we share the code? Yeah, that is a good reason, although when we build for mobile, the template, which currently points to hint component HTML, is going to pick up the hint component TNS HTML file, if there is one. But we can share it. But you can get socks, though, so I won't be bad. Thank you. Can we share this line of code? Yeah, you over there. What do you say? Why do you think we can't share it? Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see. Yeah, we can share it. Can someone give him the socks over there? Thanks. So we can't share it. Instead, we have to use the NativeScript-specific image tag. And you can notice again the file extension, which is important so that we can split the code whenever we're building for web or for mobile. And how do we get started converting our code? So the easiest way to get started is by installing the Angular COI and the NativeScript COI. You're going to need the first one to build your web project and to run NGAdd, and the second one to build your mobile project. Then you can execute NGAdd at NativeScript Schematics, which is going to add a very, very simple and basic mobile application inside your web project. And then the third one is to execute TNS preview. This is going to build the mobile project, and you can preview the mobile project by using your phone and following the instructions there. And the good thing is that you don't have to do any native Android or iOS setup. So you don't need Android Studio, you don't need Xcode or whatever. You just need these two globally installed packages. And when we try to convert our project that we saw there and build it, this is what we're going to see. A big blue button or something, and the text auto-generated works. So as I mentioned, this project over here doesn't have to do anything with our existing web application yet. So how do we convert it? If we take a look at the uprooting module, that is the uprooting module for web, we're going to see that we have a single component called the game component. And if we peek into the uprooting module for NativeScript that was auto-generated by NGAdd, we're going to see that we have some auto-generated component. And this is what we see on the screen. So the easiest thing to do is to remove the auto-generated component and replace it with the game component. And what we're going to see here is pretty much nothing. Not very excited, yeah. Why does that happen? I have one last pair. Someone? Yeah? The template is missing, that's correct. Thanks. And actually, the build picks up the normal HTML file without the extension. And because the HTML is not valid in NativeScript, nothing gets rendered on the screen. So in order to make the migration of the component easier, we can use the NGDE migrate component schematic that comes from the NativeScript schematics package and provide the name of the component. This is going to generate the HTML file for NativeScript, the HTML markup, and also it's going to declare the component inside the NativeScript-specific ng module. And this is how the screen is going to look like. Game works, something is auto-generated, and so on. So we have to actually manually migrate this component. This is how it looks right now. So writing the mobile user interface, it is not a topic that we can cover in 5 minutes or so, but I'm just going to give you some simple examples how the HTML elements or tags that we're using match the NativeScript user interface. For example, let's say that we have ng template and an h1 tag. To convert that to NativeScript, we can reuse the ng template because it is something Angular specific, and it's not browser specific or anything. And we can replace the h1 tag with an ActionBar and also provide the title as an attribute. This is also something that is kind of NativeScript or XML specific. We can't write between the tags, and we have to provide the text as an attribute and bind it like that. And if you're wondering what is ActionBar, it's this thing up there. So this is how we can simply replace the h1 title. Then the image, as we saw earlier, we can replace with an image or with a GIF. The GIF comes from a NativeScript plugin for GIFs because if we use the image tag, it's going to be just a static image, and we don't want that. Then we have a form, and we're using some material form fields and stuff here. For NativeScript, you can't use Angular material, but you can use the built-in text field. And the text field here is wrapped inside a stack layout. The stack layout is a layout which tells all the elements or the subtext inside it to be rendered one after the other. And the default behavior is vertically, but you can change that. So as you can see, we're also reusing the form control, and we're providing some basic attributes such as the hint and the text. Then we have a div with an NGDE, which means that if the current movie was guessed or we typed in the correct movie, then we're going to show some message, like, great job, the movie is the thing that you wrote. And there's also a button which enables you to load the next movie. We can, again, use a stack layout because we don't have divs in NativeScript. The NGDE stays the same, and we can replace the H3 tag with a label element. This is going to be a text. And we also have some classes that we can use. And actually, the way to style NativeScript elements is by using CSS. So these classes come from the default CSS theme that you can use to style the elements. The button is just a capitalized button, and we replace the click event with a tab. So that's pretty much it. Let's see how our application looks like. OK, this is an Android emulator, and the application is the migrated application that we were migrating up until now in the slides. So we can try playing the same game. It works in the same way, pretty much. I'm not going to play the full game, but you can see that we actually reused all the logic behind loading the movies, and we never touched anything else besides migrating the component itself, and also adding the root. So the point of this exercise was to see how much of the application we can reuse, and what kind of parts we need to migrate. Cool. One final thing. If you want to learn more about code sharing with NativeScript and Angular, there is a pretty good documentation on the topic. This is the repo of the application that we were migrating. And the easiest way to try out NativeScript is in that website, play-nativescript.org. You don't have to do any local setup. You can just go into the website, take a tutorial, or just play around. You also need a mobile phone, but sorry about that. Yeah. And one final thing about an event that is going to happen in the middle of September. The Angular and NativeScript teams are collaborating to organize a hackathon for non-profit organizations. The idea is that if you know a non-profit organization that needs a mobile application, you can register the idea in the website over there. And if you want to work on a project with NativeScript Angular, you can also register as a standalone person or as a team up to 4 people. And the most important maybe part is that there are prizes. So I think the biggest prize is $1.5K US, and there are some other prizes, $1K US and stuff like that. So this is the website, ngdns.org. And it's also a 4-day hackathon for a lot of money. I don't know if I mentioned that already. So thank you for the patience. And this is the link to the presentation. Thank you for listening.